Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs, and I welcome you guys to the official introduction to my Fire Emblem 8 Patreon PME. Yes, it's coming, guys, it's coming, and it's probably going to be the last Patreon PME I will do. We have done 3 regular PMEs right now, and the Fire Emblem 7 Patreon PME will be done very soon, and I think we will all round it off with the Fire Emblem 8 Patreon PME. The reason why we selected Fire Emblem 8 again is because we have access to a much wider array of customizations right now. We have access to skills, which makes for a lot of funny inserts and stuff like that, which we can play around with. Now, before we start talking about the Fire Emblem 8 Patreon PME and how it's going to play out, I will just address like an issue that I see mentioned quite a lot in the comments section. I know this is something that rubs a lot of players the wrong way. People are going like, oh, I hate these Patreon PMEs because it's just like a cash grab for Mangs. And, you know, I don't like how I have to be a patron in order to get a playable character into the PME. Now, the reason why I decided to do a second batch of PMEs, or the whole reason why I'm doing this, even though we've already done a Fire Emblem 8 PME, is because of the patrons. It is something that I do to give back to my patrons. I wouldn't really think of it as a PME like the 3 first ones I did. This is more similar to coring quests. Basically, I put self-inserted characters into a Fire Emblem game and then I play through them. It's more similar to coring quests, especially considering I'm streaming it instead of actually let's playing it. So I know a lot of people really want me to do like another standard PME because they really like those, and I do agree they were a lot of fun, but I've already done them, and the reason why I'm doing it a second time is mainly to give something back to my patrons, because they think it's very fun to create custom characters that gets inserted into a game and then streamed by me. So that's the whole reason why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to get patrons, I'm doing it to give back to my patrons. So I just wanted to start off by talking about that, because I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments about it, and I would also like to emphasize that there are plenty of people in the Fire Emblem 7 PME who donated a single dollar, got a playable character in, and canceled their pledge. By no means is this like a cash grab thing. The only thing that I give to my silver tier patrons is like a very high quality custom portrait, as well as a personal weapon. That is the only advantage that they will get. Now, in terms of regular edits, this video will be used to generate like random edits. So if you guys have suggestions of things that you want to do, like you know, you want a Pooji to replace the hand axe, then you know, post it in the comments, and thumbs up suggestions that you like, and you know, the good edits will be added into the PME as always. This is going to be a regular PME. The only difference is that my patrons will be able to self-insert some characters. However, I would also like to say that we are going to be adding a lot more customization to this PME. There's going to be some custom maps, and some of the bosses will also be taken by default, because we're going to have a bit more of a story narrative in this PME. It's going to be much higher quality. And I'm going to give Slendy and the PME team a lot more time to work on it as well. Once I am done with my Fire Emblem 7 PME, I will be doing Coring Right on Twitch, and that will probably take a few months, because I have to play through the entirety of Birthrights, and that is also, by the way, going to be the last time I do Coring Right or Coring Quest, because I've done it once for the Americans and one for the Europeans. So once I'm done with that, will probably happen, I think, closer to maybe the like summer, early summer maybe, at least a few months from now. We will be starting the Fire Emblem 8 Patreon PME on Twitch, just like the Fire Emblem 7 one. So with that out of the way, today this video is going to focus on how you guys create your custom-made characters. There's a lot more customization this time around, so there's going to be a template which you can fill out, which you can find in the video description or in the pinned comment section if you're watching this on your phone, and I'm going to walk you guys through it. I'm going to teach you guys exactly how to make your custom-made character, so let's begin. Alright, so as I said, this video will be focusing on playable characters. There will be a second video where we will talk about self-inserted bosses. The patrons who will not be able to get a character into this PME, and there are a lot more patrons than there are player slots, so that will probably happen, will get a chance to be put into this game as bosses. And if there aren't enough boss slots, you guys will be able to get put into the game as mini-bosses. Kind of similar to how Lemon Tart got placed into my Fire Emblem 7 PME. That means that you will show up sort of like a generic enemy, but with a portrait, and you'll just be put into a chapter as a regular enemy, and you'll be able to be fought by the self-inserted characters. So I'll make sure that everyone who wants to be in this PME will get a slot in this PME. It may not be as a player, it may not be as a final boss, but you will be put into a map regardless. Anyway, let us begin by taking a look at the template. So this template, fill it out and send it to a new email that I have created, fireemblem8pme@gmail.com. The reason why I decided to create a separate email is because I don't want to use my main account, because I'm just going to get flooded with mails. As for the title of the mail, it would be really helpful if you put your character class, your Patreon name, as well as your Patreon tier into the headline of the mail. That way it's much easier for me to sort it. But again, you can do whatever you want. Anyway, let's start talking about the template itself. So, the first thing you need to fill out is some information. Now, this information will not be published. This will just be for me and the Patreon team, so don't worry about it. I'll need your Patreon username. That is the username that you are registered with on Patreon. Then I will need your tier level, whether or not you are bronze, iron, steel, or a silver tier. It really helps me. I mean, I can always check it myself, but it helps if you include it. Then I will need your Discord name with the hashtag. Now, the reason why we want your Discord name is because the PME team sometimes runs into problems, and they might need to contact you directly. Last time we did not do this, and it was really troublesome because sometimes they had questions for the patrons, and it's much easier if you are available on Discord, so they can just contact you directly. So if you don't have a Discord name, or if you're not in my Discord, you can just leave this blank. But it's really, really appreciated if you're actually available on Discord, because then we can contact you directly. We also want your mail, so put in your mail, whatever mail you want us to contact you on. Sometimes we have a desire to contact you via mail as well, so definitely fill in this one on whatever mail you want to be contacted as. Then scrolling down, you will find the replacement characters. This is the same as the last time. Just put in the 5 characters you would ideally like to replace, with number 1 being the one you want most. So for example, you can put in like Seth, Erica, Mulder, Tana, and Innes, like for example. And depending on how many characters get taken, we might get back to you and say, sorry, all the characters you selected are taken, please select new ones, and we will just go back and forth with you until we've filled in all of the playable slots. So again, just fill in whatever character you would like to replace. And only characters from the main story, not the bonus characters, they will not be available. So yeah, do that. Then scrolling down, you will find 3 new choices to fill in. You will find the character name, the portrait, and the description. Now, character name is what you want your character to be named. Your portrait is either going to be like a quick description of, like, for example, you can say, you know, Tana with blonde hair, for example, if you're a regular member. But if you're a silver tier patron, you can request your very own custom portrait done by Calvin and some of my other spiders. Or if you want to send in your own portrait, you can just attach it in the mail. So if you have a portrait, you know that it works, you've inserted it before, and you know how to insert your own custom portraits, you can include your own portrait. This also goes if you want a custom animation and you have a custom animation ready to go, and you've done this sort of thing before, you have experience with implementing custom animations, you can definitely include that as well. Then your description is, of course, just going to be whatever, whatever it says about your character when selected. Alright, so it's time to pick a class, and there's some really important rules. There will be an additional special rules document attached to the description, which you guys should definitely go read through whenever you make your character. When you select your class, there's a couple of changes that are really important. Now, first of all, you won't be able to pick monster classes. I'm sorry, no monster classes and no trainees or pupils. They're a bit complicated to do, so I'm really sorry about that. No playable monsters in this PME. There will be monsters as enemies, but not as players. Another thing that's really important is, since we have branching promotions, you have to include your first tier class, but then in the case that you get a pre-promoted class, you have to specify what kind of class you want as your pre-promoted class. So for example, let's say you pick Archer, and you take the spot of Innes, you will have to specify whether or not you want to start out as a sniper or a ranger. This is really important. Now, there are some changes to the classes done by Slendy. Cavaliers will actually be divided into 4 different classes. there will be axe cavaliers, lance cavaliers, sword cavaliers, and bow cavaliers. And depending on what gender you pick, which is the next option, that actually depends what kind of weapons you'll be able to use. So if you are a guy, you can be either an axe cavalier or a lance cavalier. If you are a girl, you can either be a sword cavalier or a bow cavalier. This is really important. So if you want to be a cavalier, you have to specify what kind of weapon you would like to use, and depending on your gender will actually determine what kind of weapons you'll be able to use. This is just how we're going to do it. Again, check the rules document if you want a full list of all the rules for this PME that you need to adhere by, but just do remember this is really important. So select your first tier class, and then whatever promoted class you would like to start out as, if you happen to take the slot of a pre-promote. This is really, really important. Then, of course, you have to select your gender, and do keep in mind that we have both female fighter animations and female merc animations, so you can definitely be a female fighter if you want to. You can also, like, you can gender bend any way you like. You can be a male troubadour, like Dank Song was in the Fire Emblem 7 PME, but you won't get any special animations for it, but you do have to specify your gender. This is kind of important. Then you select your elemental affinity. This is primarily just for support building. There will be supports in this PME. You can leave this blank if you want to. Then you will just take the affinity of whatever character you replace, but you can select your own one. Then select a Boon and a Bane. This is just like in the Fire Emblem 7 PME. This will affect your bases, not your growths. Here's a list of the different effects Boons and Banes will have on your different stats. So you select one Boon, you select one Bane. Now, for example, if you pick defense as your Boon, then you will get 2 extra bonus to your starting defense. And if you select resistance as your Bane, for example, you will get -3 to your base resistance. This is how it works. Each stat are different because each stat is different in strength. So, for example, if you pick hit points, you will get 8 extra hit points, but if you select speed as your Bane, you will get 2 less speed. That's just how it's gonna work. So do keep that in mind. Definitely go check out the special rules documents for a list of all the rules, especially if you plan to play a Cavalier, because this is very important. And then we come to the growth rates, perhaps one of the most interesting parts of creating your characters. In the Fire Emblem 7 PME, we went with 400 points total, which was a lot. This time around, we'll go much lower. We'll go down to 250 points. That's roughly around Binding Blade levels. And the reason behind this is that Fire Emblem 8 is a very easy game, and however, we don't just want to like artificially increase the enemy growth rates to give you guys a challenge, because that just ends up with you know, really like beefy enemies in the late game, like capped promoted units. But we might like increase enemy growth rates a little bit, but nowhere near as much as we did in the Fire Emblem 7 PME. So instead, we'll just be lowering growth rates. So growth rates will be a lot lower at 250 points. To give you a comparison, most characters in Fire Emblem 8 has around 300. So your characters will be a little bit weaker than the regular Fire Emblem 8 cast. However, there are some exceptions. Once you're done applying your growth rates, we will actually double your hit point and luck growths. No, we will do that. You don't need to do this. We will do it for you. Now, the reason why we're going to do this is we feel that, you know, hit points and luck are just point by point a lot weaker than the other stats. So, for example, if you decide that your character have a 40% luck growth, it will actually be an 80% luck growth. So it's essentially going to be like twice as effective in terms of what it does. And this is just to balance out the growth rates to make sure that it's a little bit more easy to create balanced characters. So that's how we're going to do it. So here's an example of what your growth rates might look like. And once we multiply hit points and luck, this is what you'll usually end up with. So characters will be around this level, and we feel like this is an okay baseline to go by in terms of growth rates. It won't create super overpowered characters, but still gives you some room to create some decent ones. Then we come to the brand new feature called the personal skills, and this is going to be pretty fun. So personal skills. There's going to be a list. You can find a link in the video description right under this template that will take you to the list of available skills. And I'm also going to be showing them on screen right now. So this PME will have a skills present, and not just personal skills, but also there will be class skills that you will get naturally by leveling up. For example, if you're a healer, you will get, I do think you get like the live to serve skill at level 10. So there's going to be a lot of skills present in this PME. However, you get to pick one personal skill, which is unique to your character. And we've presented a list of all the available skills that are currently in the game. And we have separated these into 2 categories, the strong skills and the normal skills. The strong skills are marked in red, and the normal skills are the ones below. Now, the reason why we have strong and normal skills is because some of these are just better. That's pretty much unavoidable when skills are concerned. So as you can see right here, we have a list of all the available skills that you can select. For example, if you want to, you can go, your personal skill could be arm strength, for example. So luck percentage chance to not consume weapon durability. If you want to make want to have a character with a lot of luck that conserves weapon durability, you can. Now, if you select a normal skill, then you will get a 5% bonus to all your growth rates. We will do that for you. Don't do it yourself. We will add it for you. So if you select one of the strongest skills, you will not get this bonus. So characters that select a slightly weaker personal skill will get a slight bonus to their growth rates. And since growth rates are really low, a 5% bonus to all growth rates will have quite an impact on how strong your character will become. So if you, for example, if you want rally strength, then, you know, you will get a really good skill, you will get a really good personal skill, but you will not get the bonus to growth rates. So if you, for example, decide to select anathema as your personal skill, then you will get that little bonus. So just put in, you don't need to put in the skill description, just put in the name of a skill you want in this, and then we will move down. So then we come to inventory. You will get to start with a total of 3 items of your choice, and you will get to shop for 5,000 gold combined. So you can get something really expensive, or you can get 3 less expensive items. And basically make sure that you select the shop. Make sure that you select the item list from Fire Emblem 8, because prices do vary from game to game. So if you want to start with an armor slayer and a vulnerary, for example, you can. Or maybe you want to start with a red gem. Like you can also have like a red gem or anything else in your inventory. Alright, so then we come to the creation of a personal weapon, and there's going to be a lot more customization options this time around compared to the last one. There's a couple of rules that you need to abide by. So this is for silver tier patrons only. So first of all, just remember that if you want a personal weapon, it will by default start out in your slot 1 of your inventory. So since you can only have 3 items, if you want a personal weapon, you can only have 2 additional items. And the personal weapon won't be free. It will cost whatever the price of the base weapon that you base it off. So it will come out of your pool of 5,000 gold. You won't get 5,000 gold plus a personal weapon. So the first thing you need to do is you need to select a name for it, obviously. Call it whatever you want. That is, you know, you can't name it like... it can't be too long. It needs to have a short name. Then you will need to pick a base weapon to base your stats off of, and you will only go by the stats of the weapon itself. So let's say we pick a steel sword. Steel sword have these stats, so that's the stats your weapon will have, and that's also the price of your weapon. If you want a silver sword, then it will have different stats and be more expensive. So and if you pick, for example, a brave sword, you won't get the brave effect in addition. These are just for the stats of the weapons itself. So if you want the stats of an armor slayer, you certainly can, but you won't get the armor slaying effect on top of that. Then you will need to select an effect, and you can pick between 2 things. You can either decide to give it +5 to a stat, like for example +5 to speed if you want, or you can add a special effect to it. Now, all of the effects goes except for the Luna effect. We will ban Luna effects because everyone picks Luna and it's too OP, because you can just kill all bosses with it. So you can pick anything but a Luna effect. However, if you want to, you can also decide to make your weapon effective against any class in the game. We have the power to do that now. So if you want your weapon to be effective against mages, for example, mages and sages, you can do that. If you want your weapon to be effective against bishops, you can. If you want your weapon to be effective against monsters, you can. And there will be monsters in this PME, so you can have monster slaying weapons if you want to. Now there are 2 rules that you need to abide by. I forgot to mention, you can also make it effective against genders, so you can make it effective against females if you want. You can have a Thought Slayer that's effective against females, but yeah, there are 2 rules that you need to abide by. No hand axes and tomahawks as personal weapons. The reason being is they're just a massive headache to get to work because of different animations and stuff. It just creates a whole plethora of bugs, so no hand axes and tomahawks. And also, if you want a Nosferatu effect, aka a life-stealing weapon, it has to be an ranged weapon, either a magical tome or a bow or anything that's ranged. You cannot have a life-draining sword that's locked to 1 range. It's just, there's some animation issues with it that causes a lot of glitches, so you cannot do it. Then, once you've selected a effect, you will get to apply 1 of 4 stat bonuses to it. You can either apply 30% additional hit, 15% additional crit, 3 extra damage, or you can subtract 5 weight from it. You can select any of these 4 bonuses to your weapon. So let's say, I'm just going to bring up an example weapon right here, a steel sword. And let's say that we add 3 damage to it. This is how it's going to end up looking. Then, in addition, you can also add a negative trait to your weapon. And if you do this, you can select between either minus 30% hit, minus 3 damage, plus 5 weight, or you can add the devil effect to it if you so want. Now, if you add any of the negative traits to your weapon, you can add an additional stat bonus. So let's say that we add a devil effect to our personal weapon, then I can pick an additional plus 15 crit if I want to. So then our weapon will look like this. Additionally, if you do happen to select the devil effects, then you will get the added bonus of the weapon giving you more weapon experience as well, just like a normal devil weapon would. So then our weapon will look like this, and it's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, that's how you create your personal weapon. Again, remember, you got to find the value of the weapon itself, and it's going to have a price, just like your other inventory equipment. And yeah, this is how you create a personal weapon. We'll make sure to also give you a cool little icon. Then we come to the 3 last ones. Your character needs a death quote if it dies, which is very likely to happen if you watch my Fire Emblem 7 PME. And we also want a final chapter quote. This is what your character is going to say during the final battle. You know, when you have that montage with the different characters saying things before you fight the Demon King. Spoiler alert, you won't be fighting the Demon King, but anyway. So there will be a final chapter quote which your character can say. Then, if you want to, you can leave this blank if you want to, but if you want to, you can type in a custom ending. Make sure you don't make it too long. I think no more than, like, I'd say, like, maybe, I don't know, like a tweet, 140 characters or something like that. Don't make it too long, because it's got to fit in the screen, but just make a basic custom ending. And lastly, if you have a friend that you know is also going to join in on this PME, and you have a friend and you know what characters you've gotten, you can also, if you want, you can mail in some custom supports. So let's say you and your friend get Ephraim and Erica as your replacement characters. You are perfectly welcome to write up a custom support and send it into the team. If it's not too cringy, we will accept it, but that's gonna be up to Slendy. If he thinks it's too silly, he might actually say no, if you guys make it into, like, I don't know, just the worst fanfic or anything like that. But you are allowed to request some custom supports if you want to. It kind of depends on how swamped the Patreon or PME team will be. So yeah, those are all the rules. That's a lot to take in, but if you look over the template, everything should be pretty self-explanatory, really. If you have any questions, then you can send a mail and ask, or ask in the comments section, and I will get back to you whenever I can. So I hope that explains it. For now, we are just going to be touching upon custom character creation. There will be more videos coming out soon, but for now, that's what we're going to do. Lastly, there's going to be a link in the video description that will take you to, once we start accepting the edits, I will fill them in a Google Doc, and you guys can see if you've gotten your character. Once the character is accepted, I will put it up in the Google Doc, and I will fill out this Google Doc rapidly as the edits come in. And again, I know that a lot of you want to be playable characters. I wish I could get all of you in. I'm going to focus on those who didn't get picked. That doesn't mean you won't get picked if you got picked in Fire Emblem 7, but I'm going to be focusing on those who didn't get a character in last time. Now, before I end this, I would just like to say a couple things regarding the characters that you will send in. So think a little bit about what didn't work in the Fire Emblem 7 PME. We got a couple of really bad characters. So I know that a lot of people will want to make these super tanky armor knights with like 0% skill and speed, but 100% defense and resistance. This is usually complete trash. Characters like that usually just get benched. So just learn from characters like Snipe Dude and Brent, characters that just didn't end up working at all. You have to create sort of like a balance. Usually offensive characters are better than defensive ones, but at the same time, if you create a character like Pete, which like only strength and speed, nothing else, that will be pretty dangerous in this PME. So just think a little bit about what worked in the Fire Emblem 7 PME and try to create good characters. Like think a little bit what could be good, like what combinations of skills and stats could work out on the battlefield. You can of course focus like on a support oriented character with a rally skill or something along those lines, or you can select on, or you can focus like on a character with a lot of luck with arm shrift, wielding an expensive weapon, stuff like that. Just think a little bit, see what works, see what don't work, and try to create some decent characters. Anyway, guys, that's all for now. I hope you guys will have fun creating your characters. I certainly will have fun taking them. Remember to send it to the proper email. Don't send your characters to bangsincero@gmail.com. Don't send it there. Send it to the email that I will be linking in front of you on the screen right now. And yeah, I'll be having fun looking to your characters. This, as I said, this will take some time. There will be Corin right before this event begins, so don't expect this Patreon PME to start until, I'd say maybe not like until early summer at the very least. So there will be many months of creation, but when it comes out, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.